Welcome to the Live to 110 podcast. My name is Wendy Myers, and I am your host today. You can find me on live110.com. And today I'm interviewing some new friends, Mira and Jayson Calton. And I met them on the Live in La Vida Low Carb Cruise. It's the cruise that Jimmy Moore hosts every year. And they were really, really nice, and I was really impressed by their presentation about micronutrient antagonists and some of their new product lines, nutrients, and skinny fat, and a couple other things. And I'm so excited to have them on the show to talk about minerals and micronutrients. We're going to be talking about why you need to supplement minerals and what are some of the main causes of mineral deficiencies. And we're going to be talking about their new book, The Micronutrient Miracle. But first I have to do the disclaimer. Please keep in mind that this program is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease or health condition and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Please, the Live to 110 podcast is solely informational in nature, so please consult your healthcare practitioner before engaging in any treatment that we suggest on the show. And if you guys want to go to the new site, live to110.com has gotten a facelift, and you can go there and sign up for my free Live to 110 by Weighing Less e-guide and 5 free modern paleo survival guides. Their little charts give you a preview of coming attractions in my upcoming book, The Modern Paleo Survival Guide. And you can also check out new episodes of the Modern Paleo Cooking Show, where I cook recipes from the upcoming book. But today our guest is Dr. Jayson Calton and Mira Calton. The Caltons are among the world's leading experts on micronutrient deficiency, on weight management, and lifestyle medicine. Mira Calton is a certified nutritionist, and Dr. Jayson Calton holds a master's and a PhD in nutrition. They are New York Times bestselling authors of Naked Calories, Rich Food, Poor Food, which is how I found them, discovered them. And they have an upcoming book on minerals and micronutrients that we'll be talking about today. And they also have an amazing new nutrient line called Nutrients that we're also going to be talking about. And they basically have worked with literally thousands of international clientele, including celebrities and athletes and corporate executives. Mira and Jayson, they really have truly dedicated their lives to learning about nutrient deficiency and educating people about nutrition. And it's their belief that becoming micronutrient sufficient is the first step towards preventing and reversing many of today's most prevalent health conditions and diseases. And I'm so honored and excited to have them on the show. How are you guys?
We're thrilled to be here. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, sorry for that long introduction. I really wanted to let everybody know that you guys really have a tremendous number of qualifications and dedication to educating people about nutrients.
Yeah, it's our passion. It's a topic that people don't talk about often enough, micronutrients, and it's a topic that we're now seeing just so much stuff in the news and new studies coming out. And I think we're going to see a flip pretty soon here that they're going to get the due that they're due.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of my messages too. People need to supplement minerals every single day. It's so important. It's the underlying cause of disease, and people just think that their genetics are causing it, or what have you, and perhaps it's their diet. And it's, unfortunately, people, they have to supplement every single day in order to be healthy.
Yeah, so there's no doubt about it. I mean, we're talking about minerals. Of course, we talk about the umbrella of micronutrients, and just so people can understand, there really isn't a difference. Minerals are just one of the micronutrients we talk about. So vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and amino acids all fall under the umbrella of micronutrients. So when we are talking
essential micronutrients.
Yeah, these are essential micronutrients, meaning we need them every day, like Wendy was saying. And so anytime we use the word micronutrient, we're of course talking about minerals, but all these other things as well. And you're absolutely right. In fact, potassium, which is a mineral, is the most deficient micronutrient that, well, certainly the most deficient micronutrient that we're studying right now, the USDA is looking at. 93% of America, according to the USDA, deficient in this mineral. And it's no better really for the vitamins either. Vitamin D is just almost as high as that.
K2 now they're saying 90%.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a real epidemic.
Yeah, I know. Every single client of mine that I do a hair mineral analysis with, their potassium is just non-existent.
Yeah.
It's just non-existent.
It's very, very difficult to get potassium from our foods. And especially if we're following one of these low-carbohydrate diets or any of these restrictive-style diets, because most of our potassium comes from carbohydrate-based foods.
Yeah.
And that is actually a new product that we're actually going to launch eventually is a potassium product because we're seeing this so much in clients.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I first mentioned you guys, or met you guys on Jimmy Moore's Low Carb Cruise, and it was so great meeting you guys. I was very excited. There's so many interesting people on this ship presenting.
Yeah. We're already getting ready to book up for next year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, hopefully I'm going to go as well. But I first heard about you guys on Sean Croxton's podcast, and you were talking about beaver butts. And it got my attention, where you said that artificial raspberry flavoring is from a gland in a beaver butt. Yeah. And that caught my attention, to say the least. And I immediately went out and got your book. I had been at that stage studying all about food ingredients and how to read food labels, etc. And I got your book and learned so much more. And I thought your book was fantastic.
Well,
thank you. Rich Food Poor Food was like a labor of love because everyone in our first book, Naked Calories, we talked about how to become micronutrient sufficient, and we believe that we're food first people. We all know that it's almost impossible in this day and age, unless you're eating very odd, random things, to actually get your micronutrients from food anymore. So therefore, but we still believe that food should be your first goal, is to eat the most micronutrient-rich foods you could. So that's why we wrote Rich Food Poor Food, because when we said that, eat micronutrient-rich foods, everyone went, huh, where are they?
Yeah, how do we find it?
What does it mean? In every single aisle, like, what's the most micronutrient-rich milk? And how do I find that in a candy bar? And all the questions. So that's actually why we wrote Rich Food Poor Food, was just to make it really simple for people to locate and to navigate through the grocery store to find in every single aisle our favorite picks and even the brand names of which foods have the most micronutrients and the fewest of those poor food ingredients that you were looking at.
Yeah, it's great. It's really a practical guide as well, because even shopping at Whole Foods, there's a lot of garbage in so-called health foods. And so it really helped me to realize my veggie burger was garbage.
Yeah. Well, there's junk in every aisle. There's gluten-free junk, there's vegetarian-free junk, there's low-carb junk, and it really is about those ingredients.
Yeah, so everyone, I highly recommend their book, Rich Food Poor Food. Rich Food Poor Food. I think it's really essential reading for anyone that's trying to improve their health. Yeah. And also, I was really, really impressed by your story, the Calton Project, and how you traveled around the world, almost mimicking Weston A. Price's work and trying to just see for yourself what he discovered. And it seemed like you were trying to recreate that. I thought it was wonderful. So can you tell the listeners a little bit about what you did and why you did it?
Sure. Well, I mean, the reason why we both decided to go and do this Calton Project, which ended up being a 7-year, 135-country expedition to every continent, was because I had been working with Mira just before we set out on this, because Mira had advanced osteoporosis at age 30. So she became a patient of mine, and we were able to reverse this advanced osteoporosis in just 2 years by helping her to become micronutrient sufficient through our 3-step plan.
How does someone become osteoporotic at 30?
Well, we're going to talk about some of those habits that I had. It's really, once we realized the things that I had been doing wrong, it became so crystal clear, like I should have known it. I mean, if I had looked at like the worst possible lifestyle habits, diet habits for stealing calcium, magnesium, those two minerals were so deficient in my life, and vitamin D as well, because of my lifestyle habits and my diet habits. And we can go over a few of those if you want also.
Okay. Yeah, I was blown away when you did your presentation, how you had become, such advanced osteoporosis at age 30, and I was really moved by your story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was a shock. I mean, of course, to be 30 years old, think that, like, everything is great, you're indefensible, like, everything, the whole life ahead of you. And then to be told, like, you're not going to get any better. You're going to continue to break. You're going to be bedridden. And it really having to take a serious, hard look, leave my job, quit New York City altogether, move to stay with my family who took care of me during this period, it really breaks you down. Yeah. And now I just feel extremely lucky, extremely blessed to be able to come forward and say, this, you can get over this. you can turn over any disease you have. It's all preventable. It's all reversible if you simply build back your storage of these essential micronutrients.
And it's good that it happened to you because that's how you met your man.
I know, and I got double good things happening. I got to, and then 3 things because we went on the Calton project.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got better, and I got to travel the world with the man I love.
Yeah. So let's get back to that. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No. Well, that's the important part. Is that that's really what got us so interested in going out and looking at what's happening around the world. How was it that Mira, first of all, got so deficient in her vitamins and her minerals from micronutrients that she had osteoporosis at age 30? How prevalent really is that in our society? And more importantly, we wanted to see how we compare here in modern day America to other cultures around the world, specifically remote tribes. So we wanted to go to Papua New Guinea and on the Amazon and in China and in India and go to places where people, maybe they see 10 to 15 people a year outside of their own communities, really look at what are they eating? How are they eating? What is their lifestyle like? Do they have any of these lifestyle health conditions that we are plagued with? Do they have prediabetes or even diabetes? Do they have cancer? Do they have high blood pressure?
Obesity.
Do they have obesity? Do they have osteoporosis? And if they don't have those things, why don't they have them? And when do we start to get them in that chain from remote to semi-remote to urban? What is happening as these people move through these areas that is causing them to get these diseases? And of course, what we found were several things. One of the major points that we brought back from the Calton Project was that micronutrient deficiency is the most widespread and dangerous health condition of the 21st century. And that's because it's affecting almost every single person on the planet. Nobody even knows they're deficient. And every one of these deficiencies, as you well know, Wendy, has its roots in some kind of a health condition or a disease that we're suffering from. So if we know this, if the medical society knows this, if we as nutritionists know this, why are we teaching nutrition the way we're teaching it? Why are we talking about calories? Who cares? Why are we talking about carbs, fats, and proteins to the extent that we are? Are they important? Sure, but they're kind of icing on the cake. Let's talk about the real important part of nutrition. That's micronutrients. Those are the vitamins, minerals, essential fats, amino acids that our bodies must have, or we will get a disease. That's why they're called essential. And that's what we try to teach. We try to flip it around. So we put the cart back behind the horse again, right? And we say, let's talk about micronutrients first, and then you can come up with any kind of dietary profile you want that suits your lifestyle and that will eventually help you to become sufficient. So that's one of the big things we found in the Calton Project, and I think I'm very glad that we got to do it, and then we're planning on going back and doing it again in another 6 years, just to kind of see what's happening.
See where the tribes have gone, which communities are faring better than others.
Okay.
Yeah, so we identified what we call EMDs, or everyday micronutrient depleters. And what we did is we found what it was that all these tribes were doing right that we didn't have here. Like, what was it in our life that was depleting us of these vitamins and minerals that wasn't occurring over there? And what we did is we created Naked Calories, our other book, and we outlined every single one of these habits and told you, like, where you're going to run into these roadblocks, like what things are stealing your health, literally stealing the vitamins and minerals that you think you're getting. And we outlined them like that so that it could really be easy for people to be like, oh, man, I didn't know I was doing that, So it's very clear. Once you start to look at them, you're like, wow, we're really doing this to ourselves.
Yeah, I'm amazed at some of my clients. They're drinking coffee every day and not sleeping enough, and they're stressed out, and on, this huge list. And, it's just depleting them every single day. Not only are they not taking them in, they deplete them even more. So I really like that you address that in Rich Food, Poor Food.
Yeah, we always say it's a two-pronged problem. A, you're not getting them in. They're not coming through your food. They're not coming through the soil, so your food's not going to be delivering them. And then on top of that, this is a time where because of the toxic load that you talked about on the cruise, because of all these things, we're depleting them even faster through our body. Any few that we did manage to get in, we're running through them so much faster than ever before.
So can I ask you something? What's the weirdest thing that you ate on your travels? You're eating some of the
there's so many weird things. Obviously maggots. So that's kind of the mainstay of what you end up getting when you're in remote.
And you sort of end up figuring out that you're going to get them at some point on every single trip. You're like, okay, where are the maggots coming out? Because there's no other. A lot of times, there's no other forms of protein. You don't have a lot of protein choices.
So you didn't have a big box of Kind bars with you.
No. We wanted to make sure we did not bring anything in that of course, the governments were trying to subsidize these remote tribes as much as they could because they want to get their claws in on them. So they'll bring them. We were at remote tribes times where they literally were, it looks like National Geographic, right? And then they open up some box in the corner that their government sent over, and they've got cookies or lollipops in there. That they're, and that, of course, they think this is great. Look at our government loves us so much, and they're trying, and the kids love it, and the old people, they're the ones who really love it because they're attracted to the colors and that sweet taste.
Brand new.
So yeah, it spreads very fast.
It was crazy. We'd be like, put those things back, please. Like, we would talk to the different communities and be like, you know what, give us the list of what the government is offering you, and let us mark the things that you should not take.
Yeah.
And work with them that way. And so that's why we want to go back, because we want to see how much of this held, how many of the communities held out. And, we know that, because we went around a couple of them twice, we had already seen decline.
Yeah.
So we know what we're expecting will probably not be the pure nations that we had seen before. So.
Well, let's talk about your upcoming book, The Micronutrient Miracle. Can you tell us kind of the genesis of it and, why you're writing the book?
Sure. Well, we're writing it because this is kind of this is the evolution now. So the first book, Naked Calories, explained that we were in the middle of a micronutrient deficiency pandemic, how we got there, and what we can do about it. So that's our 3-step plan. Rich Food, Poor Food then took you into the grocery store and said, well, let's show you how to find the rich foods, and let's talk about those lifestyle habits that may be depleting you. And this one now is a culmination of those 2 books. It's a 28-day plan where we tell you exactly what to do. We give you your grocery store list. We help you to choose your lifestyle habits. We're going to give you an exact 28-day plan to make you micronutrient sufficient.
And the cool thing about it is it's not just like a random plan for a random person. It's actually, you go through it and you say, okay, what medicines am I currently taking? Okay, mark those off. What micronutrients do those deplete? I mean, it literally is so personalized to every single person that's going to be reading it. And they can go for the protocol for weight loss, or they can look at just the protocol for high blood pressure. And then that tells them which foods to put into the actual recipes that we're also creating through spices, through everything. So everything for those 28 days is going to be organized for just the things that they have wrong with them, the things that they want to focus on first.
That's what I love about all your books, is they're not just general information. There are practical guides about how to do this, how to navigate the grocery store, just what you said, what exact foods and nutrients you need to be taking for different health conditions. I think it's so wonderful because people need guidance.
Yeah, people after they read the first, the other books, they're like, okay, but I need a program. I want a recipe. I want, everyone loves recipes, and so everyone wanted more information. So people have been asking us to write this book for about 2 years now, ever since, about a year maybe since Naked Calories. And so we're finally putting it all together, and we're actually doing the recipes and for all the different health conditions. So
that's great. That's great. So why don't we talk a little bit about, we know that our food is deficient. So why is the food deficient? Why aren't we getting the nutrients that we need in our food when we did maybe even 100 years ago?
Yeah, sure. Well, definitely. I mean, it hasn't been that long since we probably could have gotten many of the micronutrients that we need, if not all of them, from our food. So, when people say, well, the Caltons say we can't get it from our food anymore, and our modern, diet isn't providing it. Like you said, it was probably around 100 years ago or so that it really just became impossible. And that is for several reasons, mostly family farming. The farming has just, the topsoil is almost gone across America. We had huge problems with the Dust Bowl, and it just, over-farming in general in America has really played havoc on how many minerals are left in that soil. Then you've got a problem of transportation. Most of the food that we're getting, that we eat today on our tables, are on average shipped in about 1,500 miles. If 1,500 miles means that it's sitting in the back of a truck or a container or a ship for a long period of time, being exposed to heat, air, and light. And heat, air, and light are those things that deplete our food of micronutrients. It's not like, mom or grandpa or whoever goes in the backyard and when we used to have family gardens or family farms and everything was fresh, picked that day or the day before. It came in, we cooked it up. It wasn't exposed to heat, air, and light for a very long period of time. So that's changing. We're also seeing that the animals that we're eating, as far as our proteins are concerned, are being raised in unnatural environments and on unnatural food. So the cows 100 years ago almost exclusively ate one thing, grass. That's it. There really wasn't any cow out there eating genetically modified corn or soy because there wasn't such thing as genetically modified corn or soy. And our chickens the same way. And our fish now. I mean, these fish farms, they're doing the same thing. They're feeding them genetically modified corn and soy pellets specifically to animals like salmon, which are carnivores. They've never even been introduced to a carbohydrate before. So lots of problems there.
And then also the glyphosates now. I mean, the spray that they're using, the pesticides and herbicides that they're using on our food is actually starving the plants themselves of the minerals.
Yes.
That's the mineral issue. And it's crazy because obviously if we're starving the weeds around it, we're also producing really micronutrient depleted foods.
Yeah.
So we're making our own food worse than it is.
Yeah.
Every single thing that
possible.
we do. I mean, that's the crazy thing. You can, Jayson always likes to say, you can chop, you can dice, you can fry, you can, all these things that you can do to food, and you don't lose the calories.
Yeah.
But every single one of these things that we do to food, you lose the micronutrients.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be so careful about, where you get your food to try to get the most in. Of course, in our studies, we did analysis of like all these different popular diets. So we looked at Atkins, we looked at South Beach, Best Life, Primal, Blueprint, Practical Paleo, and Dash Diet, and we actually studied their exact regimens. So 3 days in each of the programs, choosing their down to the last grain of salt, doing the analysis about how many micronutrients would actually be in them. And what we found out is, if you're following a diet that's supposed to make you healthy, chances are you're only 56% sufficient.
At best.
At best.
That was the best any diet did. And even with the paleo diets that we looked at and the primal diets we looked at, we did the organic and the grass-fed and for the eggs and the meats. It didn't do any better.
Yeah, and I have a lot of clients. They're actually pretty pissed off when they have been eating a paleo diet for years. And they're like, "Why am I not better?" And and I tell them, their hair test shows it as well, that just the paleo diet alone, which I think is one of the healthier diets, just that alone does not give you the nutrients you need. It's not going to cut it. You have to supplement and you have to detox as well to meet your health goals.
Well, the funniest thing is we originally did the study without the two primal and paleo diets. And then when we did our lecture series, they all go, "Yeah, you're not talking to me. I'm on a paleo program." And we were like, okay, we're getting annoyed at answering this question every time, so we are going to do it.
Show them.
We are going to talk to you. And Diane simply was one of our best friends. She was on the cruise with us as well. But the funny thing is, we're like, "We're so sorry, but we're going to use your program as one of them." She's like, "No, absolutely, because I want to know." So she was actually really open to hearing about it. I mean, she actually takes supplements as well. So she takes nutrients. But so it's one of those things that, like, I think awareness and just being honest with where our food is at right now is really, really important. Because trying to bury your head in the sand and saying, "I can get it from my food," that's all you're doing is burying your head in the sand, and nothing good comes from that.
I mean, those people listening now may wonder, has there ever been any published research showing that any diet of any kind can give you the essential 27 essential micronutrients that we're all basically aware of, the vitamins and the minerals? And the answer to that is no. No research has ever been shown to be able to show any diet sufficient in 27 essential micronutrients, even to the minimum levels. In fact, the American Dietetic Association, everybody knows these are RDs, right? They put out a call to all RDs, please come up with any diet within a 2,100 calorie limit, as long as it's palatable. We don't even care what you're putting in it. And show that you can create a sufficient diet within 2,100 calories could not be done. Has never been done, and it certainly, as we move forward in our modernization, will never be done, in my opinion.
And that's just adding that's the first part. That's just getting them in your body.
Yeah, forget about
that's before the things that you do in your everyday life. That's before the stress hits you. That's before you drink that coffee or that glass of wine. I mean, you're just getting buried deeper and deeper the more you live.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I feel like the only people that might possibly be getting the most nutrients they could possibly get are people that have their own garden, and they're only eating grass-fed meats. And for instance, my uncle, he's a master gardener. He's had a gardener for 30 years. Yeah. And his broccoli is this dark green It stinks.
Yeah.
It stunk up my whole car. It stunk up my whole fridge. It was I've never experienced any vegetable like that, and it was really profound. And I realized my uncle's probably getting hell of a lot more nutrients than I'm getting. Even with my farmer's market broccoli, etc. So he's doing a lot better than I am.
Yeah, there's food, and then there's food.
Yeah.
I mean, that food. That when we go to like Costa Rica, they've got the most mineral-dense water of almost any place in the world.
Oh, wow.
When you eat the food from there, it tastes. I mean, it tastes like amazing. You're like, wow, everything is colorful and really intense.
Such a huge difference. I know when I went to Egypt, you know, they have that very rich, fertile river Nile Delta.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the fruits there are just these dark fruits, dark mangoes, dark watermelons. It's completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We think we know what food is when we go to the grocery store. You are not looking at food. That is what that's what's become of our food. But that is not real food. And like you said, when you go to these places and you see this, you see what it really is. And a lot of times people don't realize that micronutrients are the reason your food tastes like anything. So when you go in and you see a big strawberry and it looks really, really red and it's twice the size you remember when you were a kid, and you bite into it and it tastes like water, there's no micronutrients in it. No micronutrients equals no flavor.
Fast without really being supplied. Everything's picked too early, and then because they know that they have to ship it all the way across the country, so it's picked still green, and then it's supposed to ripen in a truck. Well, it can't ripen. It can't get anything while ripening, because it's supposed to be pulling minerals from the soil. But it can't do that because there's no soil anymore. So you're just getting this random thing that's growing for no reason in the air, and it doesn't taste like anything, and that's why.
Yeah, I know a lot of vegetables and fruits, they gas them to ripen them.
Gas in order to ripen them. That's it. That's right. And more than you think. Most people watch you right now and think, oh, that's not my food. If you buy food from the grocery store, that's your food.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so gross.
Sure.
I know, it's just so sad how long some of these vegetables from the soil to the market to your plate, like broccoli, it's been on average 7 weeks sitting around since it was picked. There's nothing in it.
I know.
There's still calories in it. Yeah. Remember that. There's still plenty of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, but there are very little micronutrients left. Yeah. And I think that's really the message. When we started this and started writing books and publishing books a few years back, nobody was really talking about micronutrients. It was just a few people out there.
They fought us on using the word.
Yeah, they didn't want us to use the word micronutrient in our book at all. They wanted can't we just call them nutrients? I'm like, that's kind of confusing. Let's really educate people. We think they're big boys and girls. They can read the word and understand it.
And the third book's the thriller, because it's actually the title.
Yeah.
Micronutrients in
on the cover. God forbid. But I think it's really important to start talking about this. And I know you're doing great work with your clients and really getting that message out there about minerals. And it is a doomsday scenario. That's the problem. The first two steps, getting enough micronutrients, almost impossible. Getting rid of the lifestyle habits that deplete them, you can do your best. But the fact of the matter is, most people are so stressed out. What are they going to do about that? Unless they're going to quit their job and move to another country, it's not going to happen.
Right.
They're going to
you
they're
can't
so
leave the
stressed
city that has a lot of
pollution
just because you're wanting a better micronutrient balance.
Yeah, coffee is just going to be that thing that people are going to use to medicate themselves in the morning, and wine and alcohol are going to be to medicate at night. It is going to stop, right? So we don't want them to stop. We're not asking them to change. We just want them to become aware.
So if you see us drinking coffee or a glass of wine, it isn't that. It's just because we know that we are going to replenish them.
Because we like the taste.
Depleters.
So
that third thing, it's that third step, which is the supplements. And I know you're big into supplements, and we are too, because it really is the only way that modern day men and women are going to be able to become micronutrient sufficient.
Yeah. So what are some of these diet and lifestyle habits that are depleting people's nutrients?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll start with me as a perfect example of the most osteoporosis diet lifestyle in the world, because it's just a good visual for people. So I woke up in the morning, and I used to love my fat-free muffin because I was a huge no-fat person, and I would go to Starbucks, which was right below me, and I got this sugar-packed fat-free muffin. And sugar blocks calcium and magnesium from entering your body, and vitamin C. So not only was I probably getting colds, but I also was, absolutely blocking two of the things that I most needed for my bones to build.
Yeah.
On top of that, I would have coffee, and I, of course, wouldn't put any cream in it because I'm, again, fat phobic. So, again, the tannins and the caffeine also deplete micronutrients. Then I would probably be very stressed because I worked at my own company, and I had all the stressors every single day. And stress makes you run through all of your calcium and magnesium even faster, as well as all the B vitamins and C. And then for lunch every single day, I thought I was being so good. I had my spinach salad with fat-free dressing, which I'm sure was loaded with raspberry vinegar sugar, as you know, because that was a fun flavor, and some grilled chicken. And I was thinking, I have all these micronutrients right here in my bowl. Of course, you can't absorb any of the fat-soluble micronutrients unless you put some fat on the dressing in the salad. So I was avoiding that as well. Additionally, spinach is filled with something called oxalic acid, another depleter of calcium and magnesium. And as I got worse and as this continued, I started to notice another habit of mine that really took hold of me, and that was Swedish fish. I actually call that not just something that I enjoyed doing. I think that was actually a habit at that point. An addiction. And what I noticed is because as I was getting more and more depleted and as I was getting more and more frail, I started craving sugar more. And when you start to look at the reasons why, we realize that cravings from sugar are a sign of calcium magnesium deficiencies. And then, of course, you eat the sugar because you're craving it. And the sugar blocks the calcium magnesium. The calcium magnesium being deficient then causes you to want more sugar. And it's just this complete vicious cycle that you can't get out of.
Yeah, it's such an odd phenomenon how we crave foods that destroy our bodies, crave foods which we're sensitive to. It's so odd.
Yeah. Absolutely. So,
well,
yeah,
I mean, we crave that sugar because that sugar, and especially salt, when we're calcium deficient, that salt releases the calcium from our bones into our bloodstream. So it's kind of this quick fix that our bodies have, started to realize. So that's why the sugar and salt, cravings are so big in our society, and why all these food manufacturers now don't just do, M&Ms anymore. Now we want pretzel M&Ms, and now we want salt and sugar at the same time. Yeah. It's the holy grail of addiction. And we're all falling prey to it. And then your dinner wasn't so bad either. I mean, a lot of times when people think that she wasn't eating bad, she's eating a fat-free muffin and coffee and a spinach salad with grilled chicken.
I thought
it sounded healthy. She had like chicken and Chinese vegetables.
I always got steamed chicken and Chinese vegetables with the broth sauce on the side. And I thought, that's great. I'm getting all these vegetables. Of course, if you ever order steamed chicken and Chinese vegetables, you know the plate is white.
Yeah.
Even maybe there's a piece of white broccoli floating around in there, but it's not really the abundant, dense vegetables you should probably be eating.
Yeah. Broccoli that's like 10 months old, like you were saying. So yeah, it's a perfect, prescription for disease. And Mira just happened to get like the perfect combination of the micronutrients that created that osteoporosis.
Yeah, the wheat in the muffin containing phytic acid, and the phytic acid making my D loss accelerate, as well as it blocking the calcium magnesium again. So literally every single one of the foods that I was putting in my mouth every day, and if you live in a big city, you probably realize this. When you live alone in a big city, you pretty much eat the same things every single day because you just fall into habits.
Oh, it's around your house.
And so literally this was my day every day.
Yeah, and you eat out with all the inflammatory canola and soybean oil and table salt and all these things.
Everything was, that stir fry I'm sure was in there. Oh. She talked about the stress. She talked about the fact she lived in Manhattan, so that's a big polluted city.
I used to love exercise.
Alcohol at night. She was an exercise fiend, sometimes doing 2 exercise classes a day, another micronutrient depleter. So, I mean, it was like, what wasn't she doing? Really? I mean, she was doing every single thing.
And yet there's a lot of people listening right now who are probably thinking, that is the healthiest way to live. Going and working out twice a day? Wow, who has time for that? Yeah. And then, getting to eat like steamed food and nice salad for lunch and a fat. People would think this is a recipe for health.
Yeah.
And really it was my recipe for osteoporosis.
Yeah, and I think I have a lot of my clients that do this compulsive exercise. And because it makes them feel better and they think it's really, really healthy. And, people are exercising 2 hours a day or even really, really intensely for an hour every single day, 6 days a week. It's so depleting.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
We always say it's like the Gatorade commercial where you see like this sweat coming out of the person. It's like bright green.
It's all your minerals.
Yeah,
exactly.
All
that's all it is, people.
That's another word for mineral or for just micronutrients in general. So
I just wish that they would actually have like the CA, MG, and show it when it's dripping out. That's really what it is. Stop calling it Gatorade.
Yeah.
It's not what's coming out of your body.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, I had a friend he was only 48. He's been exercising 2-3 hours a day his whole life, surfing, skating, snowboarding, what have you. And he came down with colon cancer. Yeah. And it's just that nutrient depletion. He was living a lifestyle just like you, Myra. where he was just completely depleted and over-exercising and, you know.
We always say we can't tell you what your micronutrient miracle, the concept is, and we can't tell you what your miracle is going to be, because we don't know which things you're currently depleted in. So it's like this really cool combination. Like for me, it was calcium, magnesium, and D, osteoporosis. For other people, it's calcium, magnesium, potassium, high blood pressure.
Yeah.
And it just depends what you've been doing to your body. Sometimes people will come to us and they will put them in the protocol for weight loss. And then they'll write us back and be like, I don't need glasses anymore.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, I guess you had another deficiency in, obviously, your beta-carotene lutein situation.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But it's really interesting that just becoming sufficient, you not only can get the benefits that you're looking for, but you get these other benefits that you didn't even know were out there.
I had the same thing. Before I started my program that I do, it's called Mineral Power. I was craving potato chips all the time, like salt and vinegar potato chips.
Yeah.
Just, I could not get enough of them. And as soon as I started taking minerals, I just never even thought about them again. Never thought. And all these symptoms went away. I got sores in my mouth and teeth sensitivity and all these little things. Of course, I healed my thyroid and adrenals as well. But that was my aim. But so many other little health symptoms just fell away. Just never to return again.
No, it is.
And that's the fun of doing what we do, I think. What all of us do is that your clients come to you and they're like, well, I had this other really weird thing that I used to get. I don't get that anymore either. And so it's just really, it's fun, and it makes it, really rewarding.
And it makes me sad that people are doing this really expensive revolving door with their physicians, and the physician has no idea about, or most of them, no clue about nutrients or diet or toxicities. And the client, they just, for years, go to different doctors and just get the same dead end.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing, because people don't realize that the way your body gets rid of the toxic things in your body is micronutrients.
Right.
It's your body's natural detoxification system.
Yes.
Right.
So, that's another thing. It's like you get deficient another way faster today than ever before because you're so much more bombarded than ever before. So
why don't you talk a little bit about how we replenish ourselves?
Yeah. Well, that's it. So that's the next problem that we have to face, because now we know we're deficient probably of getting enough. We know we're probably depleting ourselves faster than ever before. And now we're standing in the middle of the health food store scratching our heads like, what am I supposed to get? So when we needed to do research to figure out how to remineralize and re-micronutrientize Mira to get her bones to rebuild again, even though it was thought to be impossible to rebuild bones at 30 years old. She's living proof, 10 years now. She doesn't even have osteopenia. And so, so what we wanted to do is wanted to find out what was it that was blocking the multivitamins' ability to be able to really, show good results in peer-reviewed medical journal studies. I mean, if you look out there, there's tons of studies on magnesium. And it's, there's no question that magnesium is an amazing mineral, and there's 1,000 studies that show how good it is for you. And the same thing for vitamin D, and the same thing for zinc, and the same thing for every one of the essential micronutrients, mineral and otherwise. But when you look at the multivitamin, there's like 3 studies, and all of them are kind of like, well, it didn't really do that well. I mean, they try to grasp at straws, and some of them say, well, it even shows that it could harm you if you take them. There was a big Forbes magazine article not too long ago, death of the multivitamin, let's get rid of it, this thing isn't working. But in one way, they're kind of right. There's a big problem with trying to throw 30-some micronutrients that have never been put together in foods before. I mean, there's no food that contains 30 micronutrients all together in one delivery system, because minerals specifically, and vitamins too, you have something called mineral or micronutrient antagonisms, meaning that they fight each other for the receptor sites in your body, meaning that one will get in at the expense of the other. And sometimes we know who's going to win the fight, meaning one's dominant most of the time, and then sometimes it's kind of a roll of the dice. It could be either one. And so when we put all of our minerals together in a single supplement like a multivitamin or a multi-mineral, then it just stands to reason that probably 80% of that's going to go right down the toilet. And that's what we really did a lot of research on over about 6 years. Once we realized that they were competing, we mapped out all the vitamin and mineral.
First, before we actually knew what we were doing, we actually made me, because I was the lucky guinea pig, take handfuls of each specific micronutrient separate.
Yeah.
Some before breakfast, some after breakfast, some before lunch. I mean, all day long, I did nothing but choke down horse pills.
Yeah.
And I was like, this, and it was working. So we were happy it was working.
About 32 pills a day. I think about 10,000 pills a year she was taking.
That's what I take, and I get really sick of it sometimes.
Yeah, well, she was like, we're coming up with a new formula. You're going to do it.
I really like you, Doc, and I'm kind of falling in love with you, but, like, that's ending.
Yeah. But you really can tell you guys spend a lot of time and effort in the design of your nutrients because it tastes so good.
Oh,
I mean, it tastes so good. I know it was not easy to get some of these vitamins to taste good.
No. In fact, the first time we sent it to a lab to have the work with the flavor, people who like a little bit more strawberry, a little bit, and they were like, "Yeah, this isn't happening. This isn't going to task good." And I'm like, "Well, that's not really an option."
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just going to go to another company. So we did. We bounced back and forth between like 3 different companies, trying to make it taste fantastic, and without adding in any binders, any fillers, any excipients, any flow agents, any sugar, anything that we didn't have to add in, we didn't put in there.
Yeah.
So it's just literally the multivitamin reinvented, and some non-GMO citric acid, which is necessary for the conversion of calcium carbonate to calcium citrate.
And magnesium carbonate to magnesium citrate. Yeah, if you look at the bottom of nutrients, lots of times people say, well, why are you using what they consider to be, inferior sources of certain minerals? And it would be inferior to a certain extent over like a calcium or magnesium citrate if it was a capsule or a pill or a tablet. Because in those forms, you just take it right in by mouth and it goes right into your stomach and that's it. You have to absorb the form that it is. But because nutrients is a powder, we just pour it into water, and there's an ionic conversion that takes place then in the water, so we can convert our calcium carbonates and magnesium carbonates into citrates with the conversion of citric acid. So you're ultimately getting that more absorbable form, but we don't need to bulk it up so much with the other forms.
Yeah.
So it's
a lot of people don't understand when they see citric acid or other ingredients in supplements that it's not bad.
Right, especially powdered, but it can be if it's too much, because then it can become so acidic that it pulls the enamel off the teeth. So that was our fine balance. We worked with dentists, and our dentists particularly, and said we want to make sure that kids are going to be taking this, adults.
You do it twice a day.
There's a huge problem with losing your enamel, so we made sure that even though nutrients taste good, you'll notice there's not a real high acidity to it because we kept it in that neutral zone, so it will not affect the enamel of the teeth.
I did notice that. Because a lot of times my stomach becomes upset when I take supplements, and I was very surprised. I noticed, I just took a mental note that it was very mild.
Yeah.
The feeling in my stomach.
It's great for pregnant women because of that as well. Because so many pregnant women don't enjoy taking their prenatals. So we made it so it has everything they need, and one of the things they need most obviously is folate. Yeah. And where so many multivitamin companies skimp and put in folic acid, which is not a good form. You do not want to be taking folic acid. It's a synthetic form. We put in the 5-MTHR. F. Like, I can only write it. In order to do that, because they're saying maybe now 50% of the population really, really needs that.
Yeah.
Because of the genetic flaw.
Yeah.
So
Mutation.
So there's a lot of there's so much research that goes into what you should be doing about your micronutrient, and what you don't want in there. What are the beneficial forms? How much do you really need of everything? And of course, what vitamins or minerals should be paired and which ones should be separated. So we did all that for you, and in fact, if the people watching now want to look at that, we have a free educational video seminar called the ABCs of Supplementation.com. It's just ABCS of Supplementation.com. They can go to, and they can watch the videos as to why and how we formulated nutrients.
And you have a survey too people can fill out.
Yeah,
absolutely. We'll give you a link for that as well. And basically, they can go right on, and they can get a snapshot of their life. Like, this is the time to do it. Because you're not going to know that you need to improve until you find out that you're not doing so well to begin with.
That's why I tell people, don't wait until you get sick. The time is right now
so
to
much
head
harder,
off of the curve.
So much harder to reverse.
Because people are sick for years before they present with symptoms.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I didn't get advanced osteoporosis overnight. It wasn't like I woke up one morning and said, I can't get up.
Yeah.
It was like, I was, for weeks and months, and probably a year before that, I was like, my back hurts.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's okay. Self-medicate with coffee.
Yeah.
And then have a glass of wine before bed and then kill the pain, and, it adds up. You stop paying attention to what your body is telling you.
Yeah,
so
people
you go
do.
on.
They numb out. So many people are numbing out with sugar and flour and caffeine and wine, etc.
So the quiz goes over your dietary habits, your lifestyle habits, and your supplementation habits. And it's the same analysis that we give to our private clients. And you can go on there. It's 50 questions. It's a little long, but it's worth it.
It's free.
It's free. And it'll give you a snapshot about where you stand in the sufficiency deficiency scale, and what and let you know what you should be doing about it.
Well, this probably goes without saying. You guys probably already answered the question, but I like to ask all of my guests, what do you think is the most pressing health issue in the world today?
Well, I mean, for us, and obvious, I think it probably is obvious, and this is our passion, and this is what we eat, breathe, sleep. I mean, everything we do is trying to help people become educated about micronutrient sufficiency. I think that unless we can become sufficient in our micronutrients, no matter what you're doing to improve your health, will ultimately fail, because it just stands to reason that if you're deficient in something that's essential, how can you ever really have optimal health? Yeah. So that, for me personally, that's kind of my passion, and my job here is to get people to understand how important micronutrient deficiency, or how prevalent it is.
And how easy it is to become sufficient. It's not hard.
Yeah.
3 steps.
Yeah.
And you can do it. And it's worth it. Because it's an investment that you have to make, or else you cannot get it back.
Yeah.
But you really have to be responsible and say, this I'm going to do for myself. And give us 28 days to see if you can do it.
Yeah.
When the new book comes out, give us 28 days.
You'll see it.
And you'll see it turns around that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm amazed. A lot of my clients, they start taking supplements, their basic vitamins and lots of minerals, and they feel great. They're sleeping better. They have more energy just within a 30-day period.
Yeah, I'm sure you're seeing that, because it really doesn't take that long. A lot of people ask, well, if I've got this deficiency, how long will it take me to get rid of it? Like immediately. So once your body has enough, because they're mostly water soluble that we're talking about, as soon as you fill it up, it's like a glass. Once you fill it up, your body is going to start functioning at its normal level. So it takes almost really no time.
Yeah, we have sample packs on our website so people can taste all the flavors to figure out which ones they like. So people will write us back, because we sent out a survey, how did you like it, all this thing. And we're curious, like we should be, what people like about it, what people don't. People within 4 days, it's only 4 days samples, because there's only 4 boxes. And people will be like, I have more energy already.
Yeah.
And you're like, that was 4 days. Don't you wish you had done that a month ago?
Yeah, it's really profound. It's really amazing.
It really is profound. And not jittery energy, not like taking some kind of one of these little, whatever, the shots that you see in the drugstore.
3 hour
energy or whatever they are. That's not energy. Real energy is what we're talking about. Energy that's just sustainable, that feels really good. And that's what we're trying to teach people, is that, before you're taking a ton of these other supplements, start thinking about the micronutrients first. Get micronutrients sufficient, and then all that other stuff, oftentimes you find you don't even need it. But then again, like I said, it's icing on the cake. There's great things to do with, different herbs and spices and all those kind of things. They're all good for you. But unless you're sufficient in the essential things, those things are never going to fix the problem, the underlying problem.
And competition really was the one thing that we studied that changed the game for us.
Totally.
Once we realized that, putting them all together was negating 80%, and once we separated the things that were competing into the AM and the PM doses, it was just like, now you can finally absorb it.
Yeah.
And that really was the 100% game changer in our supplement research.
Yeah, we're the only people to be issued a U.S. patent on the formulation of their multivitamin. And the patent office called us,
over and over
they were
again.
like, I can't believe this. There are patents, of course, on time release mechanisms and that kind of thing, and coatings that they put on
chelation
type things for the minerals. There's a big company that does a lot of that, and they have lots of patents on that. But things change when you do that. When you chelate minerals, you remember, you're not allowing them to absorb on their natural pathways. There's nothing wrong with it. It gets rid of the competition, but now it's absorbing on the amino acid pathway, and which is not bad. But sometimes it would be better if you could just let them, absorb in their natural pathways and just get rid of the competitions through separating them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is a totally different way of doing it.
Okay. Yeah, well, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more, about you, what you're up to, and where they can find you?
Okay. Sure. Well, they can definitely find us at CaltonNutrition.com, which is CALTON Nutrition.com. We're at Calton Nutrition on Facebook, and I have Twitter as well, I believe. And basically, if you sign up for our blog, if you sign up for our blog on the website, it's a once-a-week newsletter, so we don't bombard you. But that's where you find out, like, the coupons that we're giving out and where you find, all of the different things that we're doing and all the TV appearances that we're on from time to time. They can read our column in First for Women magazine. And also, we have a really great thing called the Rich Food Resource Center, where we have free coupons for everyone online. So they can go to CaltonNutrition.com and look for the Rich Food Resource Center, and it's coupons for the foods that you really should be eating, not the junk that they normally give you coupons for.
I thought that was great when I read in your book, Rich Food, Poor Food, how you had contacted all the manufacturers of foods you like and gotten coupons for them. So great.
Yeah.
They literally trying to get through to them was the hard part, and then trying to explain what you're doing. They were like, what? This is a book, and there's a coupon, and we eventually got it all done, but it was quite a challenge.
It was tough, yeah.
How long have you had your website?
What's that?
How long have you had your website?
I guess about 2 years now.
It's constantly updating.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of content on there. You guys have done a lot of work in 2 years. Amazing.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, we try to keep it busy for everyone. We also do the Cooking with the Calton segments, so they can come on and see us in the kitchen using the nutrients, along with our protein, which is Empower Protein.
Yeah, I love that. It's so good because so many of my clients ask me what's a good protein powder to use. And of course, I only advocate whey protein, complete proteins. And your protein powder tastes so good.
Can I just tell you the story? I mean, it's crazy. Literally, I was like, okay, we want one that is USDA organic. We want one that's non-GMO project verified. We want the cows to be grass-fed, and we want them to be able to prove it. And so literally, we had to search. I mean, there isn't another one out there.
Yeah.
So we literally had to find a farm that was making other products that we knew about, that was organic, and literally work with them to create the whey. And it is unbelievably tasty, and it tastes like cream, kind of, in anything you put it in. I use it in a lot of my cooking now.
Yeah.
So I make muffins with it and everything.
Pizza crust.
Yeah, it's so creamy. I mean, I use the whey to kind of curb my sugar cravings. I think the whey protein's good to curb sugar cravings, which I have an issue with. But it tastes so good, and for me, it's great to have a resource, because I ask all the time. So everyone's taking protein powders, especially people that are health conscious. And so for me, it's great so that I can refer my clients to a product that I know and trust, that I know has all these impossible standards, grass-fed and organic and this and that. There's hardly any products, or maybe yours is the only one. Because I searched on the internet.
Source.
Yeah,
and it's the only one in America.
And it only has one ingredient.
Single source.
Whey.
Wow.
And they concentrate. That's the key. There are some, there's some good tasting isolates out there, but when they isolate the whey protein, you lose the fat, and you lose all the different things like the lactoalbumin and the lactoferrin and the glutathione and all the good things that are in that concentrate.
The whole point.
The whole point of it, right? Yeah. But most concentrates, it's kind of like wine. If you've ever been to a wine tasting, and it's kind of like what does that taste? It's like, well, they call it barn floor. Well, I think a lot of proteins have barn floor in them, especially concentrates. But like you said, this one is it's almost just like fresh cream.
Yeah.
So we are very proud of Empower.
Yeah, we actually put it with our nutrients. And that's one reason we didn't add any flavor to it, because we actually put our nutrients in with our Empower with a little bit of skinny fat in the morning, and we make a triple threat. So it's like a perfect meal replacement because it has all your amino acids, it's got all of your vital, essential micronutrients, and then it's got fat to make it more absorbable.
Yeah. Well, tell me about the skinny fat.
So skinny fat was something that I've been using in my practice for about 20-some years, and just telling people to go home and kind of do this chemistry, set at home, add this oil to that oil and this one, and then heat it and do all this stuff. And eventually people were like, "Can't you just make it?" So I said, "Okay, let's do it." So what it is?
And we're gonna make it pretty.
Yeah. Make it pretty. So what it is, it's medium chain triglycerides. So if people don't know, medium chain triglycerides are derived either from coconut oil or palm oil, and these medium chains are fats that cannot be stored in your body as fat. They go directly into your liver and produce ketone bodies. Okay, so it's great for people on low-carb diets, but it's even great for people who aren't on low-carb diets, because ketone bodies have shown to help Alzheimer's patients and people, all kinds of memory enhancement. And so, but the great thing about skinny fat is it's not just pure MCT. Because pure MCT on its own can cause stomach upset. Plus, it doesn't do something. It doesn't help to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. You need long chains for that. So what we did is we did a combination of organic virgin coconut oil and MCTs, just enough long chains to stimulate bile acid and absorb all those micronutrients, and just enough MCT to keep the coconut oil liquid with almost no flavor. So you can use it in all your recipes. You can use it in salad dressings, and just like you would any other.
I made coleslaw with it last night, and it was so good. Because one thing that MCT is known for is it's a flavor enhancer. So anything you make with it, leave the garlic and the spices and all that stuff in there for a little while. Your dressings will taste 10 times more poignant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing how it really enhances all the stuff you put into it. So it's fantastic for all that stuff. So I made a coleslaw with it and made everyone eat it last night.
I know. I've been actually using the skinny fat for my salad dressings.
Yep.
And I love it because I notice a difference in my brain power when I use the MCTs, I guess the long-chain fatty acids as well. When I eat that, my brain works better, and I use it to help improve my work performance.
For sure. Are you using the regular or the olive?
I'm using the olive oil.
Yeah. So what we did with that is that's still the same, base skinny fat with the coconut and the MCT, and then because the MCT is such a flavor enhancer, adding just a little bit of organic. We sourced organic extra virgin olive oil out of Spain.
And we sourced, so it really is.
So you know it's real. And we added it in there. And the great thing about it is when you're using it, you notice it tastes just like olive oil, but it's got 85% less omega-3s, omega-6s, which are inflammation causers, right? So a lot of people say, well, isn't olive oil good for you? Well, theoretically it's good for you. But what people have to understand is when you're trying to keep a balance of omega-3 and omega-6, the higher that omega-6 gets in your diet, the harder it is to catch up those omega-3s. And most people never do. You want them about even.
No, they're antagonists too.
Absolutely right, they are, and even within the families, there's antagonists too. But the nice thing about the omega-3,
he loves whenever it says it's like really cool.
Yeah, EPA and DHA compete as well within the omega-3 family. But this way, it'll allow you to keep those omega-6s so low that it's easy for you to catch up with the foods. So.
Yeah, I love the skinny fat. I've been using it. I'm not even using my olive oil anymore. I'm using the skinny fat. So I'd urge listeners to try it. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, it was such a pleasure. It was a lot of fun talking minerals and micronutrients.
And I'd love to have you guys on again or come on your podcast.
Definitely.
That's a plan. We're not waiting until the next cruise.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have some drinks on the next cruise. We'll deplete some nutrients on the next cruise.
There you go.
That's right.
Well, yeah, you guys are welcome anytime.
Thank you so much,
Wendy.
So everyone, thank you so much for listening to the Live to 110 podcast. You can go on my site if you want to learn all about minerals and detoxification and the modern paleo diet, which is a little twist on the paleo diet that we have adapted to new foods in our environment. We don't have to eat a super strict paleo diet. If you like what you heard on the show today, please give the Live to 110 podcast a review in iTunes. I would appreciate it so much. And thank you so much for listening to the Live to 110 podcast.